Welcome to Honest Brew, unfiltered conversations on business growth. I am Cheale, and these are my cohorts,
Monique
and Sara.
And today, especially this beautiful time of Q1, looking at our whole year. And one of the things that I know I always continue to do in my business is diversify clients. And this is for many reasons. Now, diving into this topic, though, there is also a balance to this because it's something that's always advised to not do, and then it's always advised to do. So we're coming to you having this conversation of finding that balance between the sweet spot of diversifying your clients and also remain in a safety zone. Now, I will kick off and say, for me, it has been the way I have managed to do it for 7 years. Oh my gosh, that's where I'm landing this year. Is I've always made it a safe place because when economic rockiness happens or drops happen, my business has been in an upswing. But it's be attributed some of that to this diversification of my clients. Now, I just want to jump in with you ladies. So, listeners, please grab your cup of tea or coffee, whatever's going to keep you sane through this conversation. Ladies, let's start brewing.
I like to identify my bread and butter clients, like just put them into categories. So my bread and butter clients are people that are consistent across the board. I really like working with them and bring in the consistent money, right? But then if you have all of your clients that are in the same kind of type of client, like Cheale said, when some potential thing is happening in the world and you have all your eggs in one basket, it can actually be dangerous to your business. So it's like having that stable foundation of your clients is great, but then layering on different kinds of clients to help diversify your business. And an example for me personally would be doing work for organizations. It's not a kind of client that I work with all the time. I work mostly with solopreneurs, but I have worked with a bunch of organizations in the past where they hire me to do a campaign for the year. Or like another example would be supporting, in-house art department if they have like overflow work or agency work. So those are just sort of some ideas to layer in different kinds of clients so that you're not always banking on like the same kind over and over again.
I feel for me, I definitely had myself in a box for a while. And I feel the reason I did that was it was a season of me finding myself, like my footing in my business and almost trying and testing people on, which sounds weird, to find who I really like to work with client wise. Because for me, a big question I always get is like, who's your niche? Who's your industry? I feel like sometimes that's how people see diversification is like you have your certain niche that they're in. And I don't care about industry is what I came to realize. And that gave me so much more freedom. And then when I split with my business partner in 2025 and really was making Indigo Elephant me, now going into this year, I'm like, yes, I love doing build outs for my clients. That's, I would say, is my bread and butter. But now I'm like, I could subcontract for an agency. Like I can pour into people so much more by being open to different opportunities based on what clients need. So I feel like that's a way to diversify in a way is like different people need different things and those are all different types of people. And that means you can serve them. It just might be seasonal.
Yeah, I get that question. It's like, well, what industry do you work with? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm always like, well, no, we don't niche in an industry. We niche in our services. So, and not that that's the only thing we do, but we focus on building that foundation of a brand, right?
Yeah.
And from there, we execute down the I was going to say rabbit hole because that's our brand. That marketing channel. But I only say that because you brought up, Sara, this idea of niching. And I think that's where people can end up pigeonholing themselves to what Monique said, where you end up with too many eggs in one basket. Then when something happens, because I know at least in Monique and I's industry, you have people who solely they work on restaurants. That's all they do. They work on restaurants.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the positive I see to that. Yes, Restaurants, they will trust you immediately because you work with restaurants, you know restaurants inside and out, whatever. Downside, restaurants are one of the most economically vulnerable industries there is. You can literally, it can put you out of business if we have an economic, you know, crud happen or
COVID.
recession. Is
Mhm.
restaurants, retail stores are the first ones to just drop down. They won't care what you specialize in. You're done.
Yeah.
But with that said, the other thing, the other side of that is, at least in like what I've noticed in a branding side is, they also get very homogenized in what they create.
Mhm.
So, you know, when it comes to at least, and I think that this can be true in any type of business. Like if you only deal with the same type of people, the same type of whatever, and then only niche audience, you never have a shakeup. You
Mhm.
get where it's cookie cutter, it becomes like a mundane process, and you're just like, okay. And I'm not saying you might not see it that way. I know as a creative, I would, but I also think that's also the danger here in not having that diversified clients. I also want to know on the bread and butter Monique started with, that is exactly how I look at clients is I have my bread and butter group, which tend to be, you know, the larger clients. And then I have the smaller clients. And a lot of that has to do with what they can afford and what they can't. So then
Mhm.
it's like, who is going to be the people who hire you and stay with you because they can continue to afford your support, and then the ones that kind of come in and out as they need things, right? That's one way that you can look at your audience. But to jump back to my beginning point of talking about from like you know, from economics, what other pitfalls do you ladies see in that?
I would say getting bored, if I'm being honest, like doing the same things day in and out can be kind of boring. I like being on my toes, doing a bunch of different things. And I feel like when I first got into business, it very much was get your ideal avatar, choose your niche, and always stick to that. So then people will know me as XYZ, XYZ all the time. And yeah, that can be good to get like your brain thinking of like, who do I want to serve? What do I want to do? What makes me excited? However, what really gave me permission to explore more of my business, which then in turn called in more opportunity for me, was seeing my client not as just like a photograph, but like a video. It's like, yes, I have that ideal version of her, that person I love working with all the time, but there was a version of her before she got to the stage she's at now. I can still help that person. My offer might just be different. The price might be different. And that's how like I can diversify my person is by thinking about like, she was once in my shoes at one point. What would that person need? And then that can keep things exciting, it can keep it fresh, it can call in different opportunity for which then you can try it on. If you like it, keep doing it. If you don't like it, you can pivot.
Right.
And I would like to flip from what you were just talking about variety, because I agree with
Mm.
you, Sarah. I also need variety in the
Me too.
you know clients that you work with in the industries and all across the board variety. But to flip that and to point to what Cheale was saying earlier, the danger could be when someone becomes like a one-trick pony, when
Mm,
they are like the restaurant, like you just gave that example. You look at someone, and I'm speaking from a designer portfolio, but you look at this one person's portfolio and you see like they do all these restaurants, but they all like kind of have the sameness to them. And I think that is dangerous for a variety of reasons, not just because of the economic, like potential economic downfall or whatever, but also from a designer perspective, people are like, well, that's all they do.
mhm,
Can they design a shoe company or something? And
Mhm.
really do have to be careful as a creative person in the way that you're positioning yourself, and not just from the words that you use, but what are the visuals that I'm putting out there? Do they all look different? Do they all look the same? Or are they somewhere in between? Usually when people look at, and I know Cheale and I have spoke about this in the past, when people look at my portfolio, they always ask, "Well, how many designers do you have?" And it's like, me, myself, and I have three, I guess. So I think it's just important to make sure that, you're not falling into that rut of pigeonholing yourself in a bad way, from the visual designer perspective.
Yeah, I've had many clients hire us because our portfolio, they could tell because it was different based on the client, not just that because it was a different industry, but the design was different in the sense of like they knew that what we preach was what we actually take action on, which is the client muses our style. We, for what we create, it isn't, we're trying to, and this unfortunately happens a lot in Monique and I's industry, is that they apply their style to everybody. So basically, it's like, that designer is kind of like
Yeah.
tattooed that they're really trying to sell that style. Okay. That's just not how her and I approach things. And I think I can speak for Monique that we don't think that really at the end of the day is the best thing for the client. It's
Mm-mm.
not, because it's a brand that is based on the designer. It's not a brand that was actually based on the owner and the passion and the audience and
Yep.
all of these things that we go through to create a brand. And so that shows a very limited process in creation because you're jumping right to design because you already are planning on this company, my style, boom, there's not much I need to learn from the client, to accomplish that. Yeah, our listeners are not just creatives, even though I do hope you all are here because um, but also just any business though, I think any business could find their version of that.
Yes.
Mhm.
Garrett, you like what would you say in operations? What's your version of that?
I would say my version of that is almost like rinsing, repeating systems and structures, no matter the person. Of
Right.
like, kind of like when a personal trainer expects a mom of two to do the same thing as a single woman in her 20s. It's like, it's not going to work. So I
Mhm,
see that in my industry where they have different things going on outside of their business that impacts what's going on internally. And they almost
mhm,
disregard that. It's like, "No, you need these things," but it's like, if I'm not gonna be happy, that means I'm not gonna be consistent, which means then it's not gonna be sustainable. Another way I see it operationally is some people are tech agnostic, or they will specialize in a certain software.
Mm.
So for some people, they're like, "Yeah, I'll do your Dubsado, your Honeybook, anything you want me to do, I'll jump in and do it." I used to be that girl, and I found that that actually created a lot of stress for me, because even though those tools pretty much do the same damn thing, the interface is different, I felt like I was diluting my expertise because there was a platform that I really love and truly believe in, and I wanna position myself with that, and I was very afraid to do that because 'cause I'm like, "Am I gonna lose opportunity if they always see me as the go high level girl?" But what I've seen from clients who have done that, where they're like, "I'm a Thinkific creator, I'm a Thinkific expert," they would still get inquiries day in and day out being like, "Hey, I don't use this tool, but could I do it in here? Could you still help me?" So that
mhm,
gave me the freedom to realize, like, I could still pour into that different client if they truly align with my missions and values as a person in the company. Because that's what's most important to me when working with a client is that we have that foundation. But from there, I don't care about your industry. I don't care what's going on in your personal life. Like, I want to work with you because I think you're cool. And I know I can build you something that's really awesome, that's unique to you.
Mhm.
Because I agree with the design point. I have seen when I've gone to portfolios for people where it's like the same thing, and I'm like, I don't want to be the same as everyone else. Like, I want you to learn and understand me to develop something so unique to where it's like, it's me on a website or it's me in something else. I do feel with everything in the world that's going on now, we are getting more back to like, how can I have that authenticity, that uniqueness? How can I have that again, make my name in my industry, even though there's other people doing what I do?
and what I hear, and so beautifully said throughout everything you said, the main theme there is I hear customization to the
Hmm.
client
Yeah.
as well as to yourself. So, but I know all of us sitting here, we all customize to our clients. The thing that comes up the most for me is like the insurance industry. Like you go to an insurance person that works for a company, you're only going to be sold their insurance, right?
Hmm.
But if you go to a broker, they're going to select the right insurance for you specifically. I think every industry almost, sure, there's an industry that doesn't, but I think most industries could apply to that. With that said, feeling like this is we're going to call this a brewing quote. This is a new thing I'm going to create today without permission from my co-host. So the brutal quote is economic resilience isn't about being everywhere. It's about being so dominant in your corner that when the market contracts, you are still the obvious choice.
Hmm.
What comes up for you in that?
Oh, I love this one. I am a broken record, but I keep going back to staying true to yourself and the things that you want to share with your clients and that make you unique. People are going to come to you because you do this specific thing, no matter whether that goes like across different industries, but that's what makes you unique. So I think just staying true to yourself and being authentic is always the winner here, really.
No, I agree because there's a million and one graphic designers. There's a million and one people who do what I do. But what draws people to me is how I teach things, how I speak about them, my experiences, how I relate to them. That's why I feel people buy or invest is because of that feeling. And being grounded in that can really help almost keep you in your lane. No matter what's happening in the world, keep you in your lane, keep you focused, keeping that deep trust. Like my people will find me as long as I keep showing up.
Hmm.
I feel the people who are successful that do it unethically, it's going to come get them. Like
Yep.
karma's coming back, girl. You can't hide. So it's always come from that ethical place. I would honestly run in the other direction if someone's really forcing you to
Yes.
use a certain tool, do a certain thing. Like, yes, have your frameworks internally, but still have that fluidity for that person's unique circumstances.
Yeah, I think every year I try to remain open about trying new services or working with like a new client in a different industry. And when you leave yourself open to these opportunities, it allows you to experience things that maybe you're going to fall in love with this industry that you never worked in before. And then you're going to develop a new service that's based around that or something. And so you have to like let yourself be flexible to a certain degree. Obviously, you want to have your standard foundation there always for support. But I do think it's important to, as a small business owner, to always leave room for some like flexibility in there and just keeping your mind open to trying on new things. And sometimes, I mean, I'll talk about something that was a failure for me, but it was a learning. I had come across another designer that did like designer for a day where you would like hire her and, she would help you with your website or whatever it was. And I was like, I really like that idea. I wonder if I could. And so I tried it and it just tanked for me. It did not work. But I think that that's the difference between like the same service is not going to work perfectly for everyone because of who you are, how you're, being perceived and how you're positioning yourself in your market and your qualities. It's not going to be the same. So it was, even though it was a little bit painful, it was still a good learning. But I just think, keeping your mind open to trying new things, and some things are going to work and some things won't. But
On that note, because I've kept open, I've had so many clients that have actually inspired new services as well as new variations of services
yeah.
because diversifying not just industry, but the type of clients, so the type of size, the type of, and I mean like not just big, but small, like, by allowing that to happen. And if you're listening, that must have sounded very weird. I come from a perspective of you learn the most about your business by who you serve and what actually serves them. That's how you determine, that's the best way to determine your next service, your next product, the best way to even adjust things in your business, how you're communicating with your business, is like listening to your customers. They're your most brilliant business developer. But with that said, there is nuances and evolutions of my business that have happened because I have allowed and stayed open to it and not said nope. And to be honest, this I don't think this is going to surprise at least Monique, but even offering things for free. I was always told never
Yeah.
offer anything for free, always get paid, blah, 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 blah. Guess what? No, don't barter. Guess what? No, because I've gotten some of my biggest clients because it trailed off of those things.
Yep.
So, I think that some of these hard, fast rules, get some flexibility with. I'm not saying do it all the time,
Right.
but allow some bounds.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all about testing. You don't know what you don't know. And I mean, even for me, it's listening to what people are asking for and trying it out.
Especially if it's a repeated request over and over again, then it's like, whoa, I really have something here, you know?
So here's a reality check though. If adding a new client type means new software, new team training, new project management approach, that's not diversification. That's a second business. And running two businesses doesn't make you twice as resilient. It makes you twice as fragile. So this is where we get into the danger zone. I want to kind of bring us back, from our conversations because it's been very much a push to the diversification more than anything, but have a framework here that I kind of wanted to throw out. Green light, a new client variation uses existing systems with minor tweaks. Yellow light requires some new processes, but the team can handle both. Red light needs different team members, tools, or complete process overhaul. So I'm going to give a beautiful, I think, a beautiful example or illustration of this. As I've said before, I was raised in the restaurant business. My father owned 3 restaurants. What this green light, yellow light, red light reminds me of is when he would decide to put something new on the menu.
Mm.
So it was easy for him to decide a new item in the menu because it accessed ingredients, it accessed the equipment they already had. So those things were easy to add to the menu. Maybe there was an item he wanted to add to the menu, and maybe he'd have to add this small like appliance to be able to fully execute it. And then the red light happened for him, like, nope, sorry. It didn't matter how many times I begged him that this one restaurant offered this. Why don't you offer this? But in his mind, that was just, we'd have to train too much. We'd have to bring in like way more equipment. Like this was me as a kid not understanding the restaurant business. But I think it is a really nice visual way of
Yes.
thinking because we all are foodies at the end of the day. Even if you don't want to admit it, we love food and we understand food.
That's such a good example because it really helps to conceptualize like what this whole topic is about, really diversifying. I think for me, there's some combination of what we started at the beginning talking about, and then also something that Sarah pointed to, which were when you're working with someone new, taking account of how you feel about working with someone new. How do you feel when that person was it easier or harder or a little bit stressful, which I think kind of equates to the red light, green light, yellow light. So it's like that's a little bit of a twist on what you were saying, but I still feel like, on the different kinds of clients can equate to, how it can just point to like how you're feeling when you work with them points to whether you should continue with that kind of client or not.
And that is beautifully said. And I want to kick that into last sip.
I feel the biggest thing is don't be afraid to diversify. Don't be afraid to be curious about it. And also, like, don't be afraid if you are in a season where I want to pour in just into this one person, because you're probably learning from it. You're gaining something from it. And then from there, you can branch off to be like, what can I do to pour into other people? Because I feel for all of us, what keeps us grounded is we want to be of service. We want to pour into people. We want to change people's lives. And that may not show up in the way that we want it to or expect it to. So it's about being open-minded to the opportunities that come. Try it on, feel it out. If you hate it, you stop it. If you love it, you keep going. There is no right or wrong.
As always, beautifully wrapped up. Thank you. And before we go, I want to point out, please go to honestbrew.co because Some of our episodes have amazing tools, and if you get on the list, you'll be sent these tools. You won't always have to look in the description to see if one is dropped, and know that these tools are meant to help you in your entrepreneurial journey, and they come from the genius of all of our expertise. So with that said, please follow us, subscribe, and share with the people that you really want to see grow, because I think that that is one of the most important things in entrepreneurship, is leaning on helping and collaborate with each other to grow our dream business. Thank you so much, and make it a great day.